The effects of Japan are close to home. Find out who at Elon is feeling the shock.
Spring break is around the corner. We'll tell you how to keep your house safe while you're away.
One Elon student is winning and hopes to be Charlie Sheen's intern. We have her story later in the show. I'm Sophie Nielsen-Colding.
And I'm Ben Rungsitong. Phoenix14News starts right now.
This spring, Elon faculty will debate a possible new general studies curriculum that has just been released.
The proposal would change the categories of general studies classes as well as require fewer semester hours in the arts and sciences. But the changes go beyond hours in the classroom.
David Hodges is here to explain to us what some of the new changes are. David.
For 18 months, Elon's General Studies Committee has bounced around ideas on how to revise Elon's GST requirement. The committee found that classes typically lack consistency and rarely related to each other. The changes the committee are proposing would create new ways to fulfill class requirements.
Oftentimes students look at general studies, if you think about the check sheet, as sort of the things on the left of that sheet as just sort of things to check off, things you have to do to be able to get your degree.
Elon's General Studies Committee has drafted a proposal they think elevates GST classes above just a laundry list of requirements for students. There would be 4 different ways to fulfill what the committee is calling an integrative learning requirement within general studies. 3 of the 4 options are relatively similar to what exists now, but a 4th, called Pathway, connects classes from different disciplines.
It's probably best to think about that as a sort of small interdisciplinary minor that departments across the entire campus could develop so that students can still sample widely, but then have some coherence.
The committee also recommends that Elon students complete 2 experiential learning requirements. Students only have to complete 1 ELR as of now, but the proposal would require students to do another focused on diversity or community engagement.
One of the university's priorities in its latest strategic plan is a greater commitment to diversity.
These changes will not be voted on until the end of the school year, and if passed, don't expect to be adopted until the fall of 2013. The proposal would mean big changes for future first-year students who would have different requirements and core classes.
We're going to try to get students to stretch themselves intellectually by connecting their work in general studies also with their work in the major. So we hope it'll be a bit tougher.
Faculty would also have to adjust to the proposed changes. Fewer health and writing classes could mean fewer positions for teachers. Faculty would also need extensive training in order to make sure their classes meet the new learning objectives. Sophie?
Japan was hit with an 8.9 earthquake last Friday. The earthquake hit near the east coast of Japan, and aftershocks are still being felt. Jackie Adams caught up with a student and professor, both from Japan, to find out how they're reacting.
I started panicking.
That was how Junko Aoyama reacted when she woke up the day an earthquake hit Japan. Aoyama is an exchange student from Tokyo.
I got up unusually early, around 6, and went on YouTube. And then on the top it said Japan 8.9 magnitude earthquake.
Japanese professor Yumika Araki didn't panic when she first heard about the earthquake.
Didn't seem like a really big earthquake when I first found out.
When she realized how devastating the earthquake was, she got in touch with her husband in Japan.
I got the news in the morning, and it was that night that I made sure that he's okay, and my parents are okay, my relatives are okay.
The phone lines were down, so Aoyama had to find another way to contact her family.
Luckily, I reached my mom over Skype.
Being halfway around the world while Japan is beginning to rebuild is hard for Araki, but she's already planning a fundraiser to help her country.
For example, cooking some Japanese food and having people on Elon campus, Elon community to try that and then get some money.
Jackie Adams, Phoenix14 News.
The recent emergencies in Egypt and Japan are raising questions about how to keep students safe abroad. The director of the Isabella Cannon Center, Woody Pelton, says that even though each situation is different, there's a set plan in case of emergency. However, Pelton says that the ICIC is more concerned with the students than with the emergency plans.
We want to find find out as soon as we can exactly what's going on, what's the situation on the ground, how are the students, are they in a safe location, and then start to think, once we know their immediate safety, start thinking about what's the next step.
And now continuing coverage on the Ragsdale trial. Robin Stanfield Ragsdale pled guilty to the hit-and-run charge involving Elon student Turiali Fazli. Ragsdale was sentenced to at least 15 months in prison for the September 15th incident. Her defense attorney said Ragsdale told a psychiatrist that she wanted to kill herself after the accident and that she was sorry. Fazli's lawyer said that was the first time Ragsdale showed remorse.
It was the very first time that we've ever heard anybody mention any remorse. From what Fazli has heard and anybody on his part, there's not been one expression of remorse ever.
This week marks North Carolina's 10th annual Sunshine Week. Nick Oxner is live in the studio with more. Nick?
Sophie, journalists at newspapers and broadcast stations across the state are kicking off Sunshine Week today. Sunshine Week began as a way to remind government officials and everyday citizens about the law governing public records. North Carolina public records law says that things like the salary of public officials, police reports, and even emails sent or received by state and local employees must be made available to the public. The laws even extend to some places here at Elon, even though we're a private university. Under the law, the campus police department must give out police reports to those who ask, and the police are also responsible for keeping track of crime statistics on campus and must compile a report each year about student assaults on campus. Now, today, one government board came to Elon to hold a public meeting. The Alamance-Burlington Board of Education held a meeting on campus today to interview candidates for superintendent. Jason Puck was outside of McCoy Commons this morning as the board met, all with the goal of keeping it as confidential as possible.
The Alamance-Burlington Board of Education met in an unusual place this morning. At 7:45, board members gathered on a sidewalk outside of McCoy Commons in the Oaks along Williamson Avenue and called their meeting to order.
Is there a second? Yep. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, we're in closed session.
Board members voted to meet in closed session on the second floor of McCoy Commons this morning to interview candidates for superintendent. Cole says the meeting was closed to the public to follow state law.
Based on personnel laws, we protect the identity of the candidates till we get to the point where we can announce one.
But the state's public records law doesn't cover people who are interviewing for a job they don't have yet, meaning the superintendent candidates don't have any legal right to privacy. Burlington Times News article from February 5th shows debate among the board over whether or not to make the interview process public. Board members Tony Rose and Patsy Simpson both wanted to hold open forums. Instead, the board met at 7:45 this morning away from school property to conduct the interviews. Cole says the timing was to accommodate people's schedules.
We try to find a place where generous folks from the community can offer us some space to sit down and meet quietly without the interruption of other workflow.
At the end of the day, Cole says she's happy with the amount of community involvement that's gone into the superintendent search.
We're very transparent this time. We did a community survey, and that community and staff survey had a record number of responses, and our board has taken that information into consideration.
Jason Puckett, Phoenix 14 News.
The results are in from the latest Elon poll. The questions were geared toward public records and public meetings in honor of Sunshine Week. Of the respondents who had tried to get public records, 84% said they were successful. The top documents people got requested included police records about crimes in the community, property tax records, and names and addresses of registered sex offenders. The poll included 467 residents and has a margin of error of plus or minus 4.6%.
Imagine your right to vote being restricted simply because you're a college student living on campus. That's what students in New Hampshire could soon be facing. The State House of Representatives is voting on a bill this week that would prevent students from voting in the towns where they go to school. Don Granese reports how this could inspire a national trend.
Kids coming out of school and basically doing what I did when I was a kid, foolish, voting as a liberal. You know, and that's what kids do. They don't have life experience, and they just vote their feelings.
New Hampshire Republican House Speaker William O'Brien didn't know his speech to a Tea Party group was being recorded last week when he expressed his feelings about college students. O'Brien's comments come as the New Hampshire House of Representatives considers a Republican-sponsored bill that would prevent college students from voting in the town in which they go to school. Jeff St. Cyr is a senior at the University of New Hampshire and is also a Republican member of the House of Representatives. He thinks the bill could set a precedent for other states.
I think maybe other states will also look to this as well, and if certainly a bill doesn't pass New Hampshire in regards to this very same topic, that maybe other states will look to that as well and see that, they introduced the bill, but maybe it didn't pass in New Hampshire. Maybe we should wait a while and maybe not introduce this legislation at all.
If the bill is a success, it could start a national trend. Elon students I talked to here at the Mosley Center didn't like the idea of state legislators restricting their access to North Carolina ballot boxes.
I feel like I have that power. I don't feel like they can take it away from me now.
I figured this would be a demographic that they would want to support voting and not discriminate against.
I've been expecting to get to vote in the next election, and then getting it taken away would just kind of feel like a big scam.
While this type of legislation has not yet been proposed in North Carolina, it could be something that affects Elon students in the future if the trend continues to spread. Don Gurnice, Phoenix 14 News.
Wisconsin joined New Hampshire. They proposed a law that would prevent students from using college IDs as proof of residency when they vote.
Late or not at all. Phoenix 14's Joe Bruno is live at the bus stop behind McMichael. He found out exactly how much of an issue it is. Joe.
Ben, students have told me the bio bus has been arriving late all year, so I went to a couple bus stops and found out what the schedule is really like.
Inconsistencies with the bio bus's pickup time are leaving people wondering, where is the bio bus?
Well, frequently, I've given up trying to catch it in mornings.
Students like Kaylin Dorr are often faced with a problem. Wait for the late bus or walk.
It looks like I'm just going to have to walk that long haul every morning, every night. It's a terrible thing.
Dorr uses a site called NextBus to keep track of the bus schedule. NextBus is based out of Oakland, California, and uses a formula based on the expected number of passengers, the type of bus, and the arrival times of each university. They claim their system is 95% accurate.
However, Monday afternoon, NextBus's operating system was 0% accurate when it came to Partners Place. Right now it is 1:53, and according to their website, a bio bus is supposed to be here. But as you can see, there is no bio bus in sight.
One biobus driver who wished to stay off camera said there are many reasons why a biobus could be late.
Could be fueling time. Also could be traffic at McMichael when you're trying to get out, usually in the afternoon. That's one of the big reasons too. And then sometimes they have to take a break.
Until these inconsistencies are figured out, Dorr said that he is just going to stick to walking.
Now, guys, they added a second bus in the morning to the Danley Center route and get students to class on time. Currently it is 6:13. The 6:11 bus actually came a minute early. For now, live behind McMichael, Joe Bruno. Back to you guys.
Coming up on Phoenix 14.
It's the time of year that makes most people cringe. We'll tell you about Elon students that want to help you with your taxes.
Spring break is less than a week away. We have everything you need to prepare next.
The women's basketball team gets some good news. Hear about their newest venture later in sports.